Hi, Patrick Dooley, Senior Product Manager for GitLab's Ecosystem Group. I want to review today ServiceNow. Let's talk about what ServiceNow is, what we've done so far with ServiceNow, or rather what ServiceNow has done with us, and where this can head in the future. So I know a lot of our people aren't familiar with ServiceNow. That's not uncommon. ServiceNow is only used by very large organizations. For the most part, that's not always true, but for the most part, it's very large organizations that have very specific needs. So if you haven't worked at a company with 5,000 or more employees, it's probably unlikely you've ever encountered ServiceNow. So I'm going to talk for a little bit about what it is. So ServiceNow is an ITSM or IT service management product. It's kind of, think about like the easiest example story is, let's say you were in a large company and you have a laptop that was issued by IT and your laptop breaks. So you need to submit a ticket for repair. So that's where ServiceNow is kind of most commonly encountered by people. You can open up a ticket in ServiceNow. That ticket then gets assigned to the IT team. They triage it and look at it and go, oh yeah, we definitely need to actually see this laptop to be repaired. So then it gets reassigned back to the employee who's told, okay, bring your laptop over. You bring it over, it gets reassigned to the IT help desk technician. They triage it, they look at it, they diagnose it, whatever. And then they decide, no, actually you need to receive a new laptop. This laptop is dead. So they reassign it then to procurement. Procurement goes and orders you a new laptop. Then once the laptop comes in, it gets reassigned to IT, who comes and picks up the laptop from procurement and then puts on whatever software you need. They reassign it to you, the employee. Then you review it and go, yep, this has all the stuff I need. It gets reassigned to help desk, and then they approve it and say it is done with this step. It gets reassigned over to finance, who then logs that thing as having happened or whatever, right? And then it gets filed away for future reference. So that kind of multi-departmental workflow where a ticket is being assigned to different people in different departments to do different activities, but it's doing so in an automated way, is really where ServiceNow shines. Now, that sounds like it has nothing to do with DevOps, but there are two things here that we want to touch on. There are two workflows that I'll kind of dig into a little further down the line. But there is a big intersection now with DevOps change control. So what that means is, let's say I'm in a bank, for example, and I have a service on the back end that manages how money is routed when transactions happen. So if I make a change to that code and I deploy it in production and it was wrong, there is a potential where real people can lose all of their money instantly because of my bad code. So that's not subject just to a normal code review. We have some great code review tools that would be really valuable for them to use, but that's not enough. This needs to get reviewed by both the other developers in that area. It may need to get reviewed by some staff level, principal level, whatever developers in the organization as well. It should get reviewed by security. It should maybe get reviewed by the legal department to ensure that it's up to snuff, right? So that's like, if you look at SOX compliance, like Sarbanes-Oxley compliance, like there are some things that have to get reviewed by legal before they can be deployed into production. So those kinds of processes where we need to go across to a number of different departments and receive approval before we can even merge the code in some places, like not even deploy, like before we can merge it into our main branch, those kinds of regimes where we have complex auditing and compliance requirements are really key to how what ServiceNow is valuable for. So we have that specific use case, the integration for change management, that is actually done in today in ServiceNow. So there are two pieces that I'll touch on. There is the GitLab integration that's inside their DevOps plugin, and then there's a GitLab spoke. So the DevOps plugin allows you to do a lot of things I just described. It allows you to integrate with DevOps tools and make them part of your workflow. A few months ago, I think this was in December of 2020, and in January they rolled out the GitLab support in their DevOps plugin. So this allows us to send a webhook, so a project can send a webhook to ServiceNow. ServiceNow monitors that pipeline and takes that data in and watches it. And then if you set deployment to a manual step, they can go kick off deployment once all of the approvals have happened. So that's available today. I think that was in their Orlando release. And so that's something a number of our customers are starting to use right now. And if you need something a little more flexible, the GitLab Spoke is a library that powers all of that functionality. So the way that they build their plugins are they're just composed of all of the different pieces inside the spokes. So the GitLab Spoke allows you to do things like, if you think back to that IT help desk workflow, what if at one point the thing I want to do, right, like along this process, let's say I have an internal dashboard that I find that is broken. And so the dashboard's broken, I need to send this over to engineering. Well, engineering uses GitLab for project management. So my workflow step in ServiceNow is I want to open an issue in GitLab. So the GitLab Spoke allows you to do that. It has a catalog of different API resources on GitLab and allows you to automate these actions inside of GitLab using ServiceNow. So they took those automations that they had already built, they built them into the DevOps plugin, and that is available to customers today. So we've talked about two different workflows. So that's the DevOps change control is available in that plugin. The IT help desk journey is kind of available in the GitLab Spoke if you want to compose it. So where do we take this from here? Well, there are a few problems with the integration that it stands today. It's based on a webhook that is sending data. It's also based on the idea that the deployment step is manual. So at the end of the day, for that change control journey, if an owner of that project wanted to, they could go to the pipeline, and then hit deploy anyway. They have the ability to override that. And again, if we look at that like bank example, that's problematic. We don't want that code merged until it's been approved by all of the legally binding people. Now, maybe we do want a way to override it. I think Sid called it like an emergency hatch, right? Maybe we do want a way to override that, but we want to be able to control how that's overridden. We may want to audit how it's being overridden or when it was overridden, right? So there are a number of opportunities there. I think what the future looks like is building a native integration for ServiceNow that allows you to add it in the same way that you add other integrations by going to Project Settings Integrations, click on ServiceNow, enable it, and it federates with ServiceNow, grabs the appropriate webhook endpoint, does all that on the back end without user intervention. And then you should have some options like being able to audit overrides or being able to fully prevent deployment without approvals. Right? Like those are some really interesting use cases that I think we can dig into. I'll leave links to all of these things in the description, but I just wanted to give a kind of broad overview of what it looks like. I think there's a ton of data in here. There are also a ton of customers. We've got a bunch of Salesforce links in here that I won't click on, so it doesn't have to be confidential. But we've got a ton of customers who are interested. There's been a lot of discussion around this, and I think there's a really clear opportunity. ServiceNow has built these integrations. They're clearly willing to work with us and build some really cool stuff. So reach out to them, and I think there's a really interesting and exciting opportunity for probably some really great ultimate features that can be part of our kind of compliance. They're not our compliance features, right? But they're compliance through another product's features. I think that's a great fit for the ultimate use case. This is supporting large organizations that have very specific security needs. So it's a really great fit on that front. So that's it. Thank you for your time and good luck.